at the end of the conversation that they have somebody that's listening to them, they're getting hit with these weapons. They're getting stung. They're getting sores on their body. Their brains are getting hit. I had a lady call me last night, and they're playing with her heart. Her heart is starting to skip beats, and she said, if anything happens to me, this is the person that's responsible because I don't know how much longer they're going to let me live. So they are killing people, and they are driving people to suicide. The oppression is unreal. And I feel so bad. I want to get out there, and I want to do more. What else do you think we can do? How do we catch these people?
Okay, it's going to be difficult to catch them people. I'm not sure how the average one can. I had a gentleman named David Case. He's here in Missouri. He invented a device to sort of neutralize some of these sound waves, and I think he's been very successful in certain cases to, be able to neutralize that, the sound waves that come through there. But then, if we're going to have to, individuals going to have to, as I keep telling them, contact your congressman when they come home, your U.S. senator, because this is going to have to be an investigation at the federal level. You can call them and write letters. The best thing is one-on-one contact with them when you sit across that desk from them. And if it's not the congressman, it's that person. Most all of them have a local office in their district. And, take any evidence you have with them. And, get very emotional with them so they fully understand that this is a problem out there. It's not something that's contrived, or it's not a nightmare that someone is having repeatedly. It is a real occurrence that's happening every night to them. Some people are being subjected to it at the workplace, and that, we cannot allow this to go on. And it's going to have to be, I think, a federal investigation to get more media on it, more attention to it, so the American public becomes more aware of it and stands up and says, we will not allow this to happen to our fellow man in this country.
Okay, what about the microwave weapons? Can you give us a brief description on how they work? Because not everyone knows how they work, and I know that I believe you were involved with air defense at one time.
The microwave weapons, there's different ways. Some of them are, high-pitched sound waves, and, they're able to travel through walls. And they're so intense that they cause intense pain in the individual. And it's kind of like, basically, if you take a microwave and you just transform that into the shape of a weapon to transmit that sound beam or light wave or those radio waves to someone, you can cause, intense pain. And this goes way back 20, 30 years, For people who might doubt this, you can check, and there were patents applied to people to develop these. There are also people have applied for patents for weapons or equipment to neutralize them. So if they wouldn't be applying for patents to neutralize them if there was not out there. So probably that's about the extent of what I've had time to research on how these weapons are working, but you can just kind of visualize how they can be affecting by them. Now, do we have our federal government using satellites to beam waves down from orbit? Yeah, that's entirely possible to do it that way, to track people. The more insidious and frightening thing is that actually people have been made into guinea pigs and had these devices implanted into them so that remotely they could be triggered to cause pain, trying the mind control on people. Obviously, it's working because people are being driven to suicide. You can imagine in warfare how you would use that to an enemy without inflicting physical pain, or I guess it would be a physical pain, but then inflicting it on them if they cannot stand that any longer, and they're driven to suicide or just severe depression. That is a way of hopefully neutralizing or defeating your enemy without using as many of your own army or warfare themselves.
Well, they call them non-lethal weapons, but in reality, they are lethal because
They are lethal.
they are lethal. They can cause heart attack, stroke, aneurysm, and they can make you look like you had a natural death when you did not.
Non-lethal in the fact that it's not a physical bullet or something that's physically hurting, but yeah, you try and neutralize them mentally to give up or not fight, or they just become depressed, and at the extreme end, they actually cause them to cause death in them. So yeah, the non-lethal is probably kind of a misnomer on when they get in their own hands, of course.
Well, what are the chances of a federal investigation? What has to be done? What do I have to do to get a federal investigation? I mean, if I have to come to Washington and testify, I'll be happy to do it. What is necessary that will get the federal government involved?
Investigation, you have to get a U.S. senator or a U.S. congressman who will set up the panel to have a federal investigation, to call in the Department of Homeland Security and have witnesses come in to testify how they have been subjected to it. That is the biggest problem right now, is getting a elected official to stand up and say, yes, I believe that there is a problem. They don't want to, I think probably most of them are concerned that they may look like a fool out there when they try and tell people that our own military is using these weapons, and those where they've got into their own hands against people and doing experiments on us. That's probably the biggest hurdle we have there, is getting somebody that's got the courage to step forward and say, we must have an investigation in it, and it gets back to everyone contacting their congressman, getting them involved. I've talked to several people that, they go talk to their congressman and they just get a lukewarm response, and probably a lot of non-believers out there, but then this is such a severe, important subject that it's going to take perseverance to continue contacting these till we find somebody who is sympathetic and willing to listen to it and realize that they must ask for an investigation at the federal level.
Okay. Well, Jim, as usual, it's been a pleasure. Is there anything you'd like to add that you'd like people to know about this campaign of terror? I call it the campaign of terror and the network of criminals. That's what I've termed it, because they're all around the world. I hear from people all over the world. And it's obviously cults and Satanist cults and other criminals and people who've infiltrated governments who are all networking, because there's no way that these people could just, one or two people could be carrying this out. This literally involves armies, I think, of underground people.
You're right. You probably have more contact, but I've had contact from people outside of our country here, from Europe and from Australia, and through email that have been subjected to this. So other countries have been able to either develop these weapons, or they've stolen the blueprints, or they've got a hold of them and they're using them in their own country. So it's certainly not something that is isolated to this country. Many of the people in the Far East probably would like to have, the Middle East would like to have, get a hold of these weapons and be able to use them. So you're right. And so what to do? There's certainly a parallel between that and the work that I'm doing to stop our federal government from the Real ID, getting rid of this Patriot Act, all these other illegal activities that they're doing to spy on us. And it's not much different than what they're doing with you, except in the harassment part of it there, trying to control the mind.
Okay. I do hear from people in the United Arab Emirates who are being attacked. I hear from Muslims on occasion. I hear a lot of Christians who are really being persecuted, and Jewish, and I am getting several Muslims now. So it's a wide range of targets that they pick, and it's more or less anything that you believe in or anything you were raised to believe in. They try to get rid of any memory of childhood that you've had. They just try to erase and remold you. And I find that so appalling. I can't even believe it, because we stand for such a free society. But it's all over the world. And I've had people who left the United States. I just had a man who's being so heavily targeted here. He left for Belgium. He said he had to get out